All right. Okay. So with that, I want to thank Mayor BRONIN for his great leadership on this important issue, and I'm going to bring him up to the podium. Mayor, thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Bisowitz and Governor Lamont. Thank you so much. We're honored to host this bill signing here outside Hartford City Hall today. We're here because we all stand for a basic principle, which is that women deserve to be told the truth, especially when it comes to their health and well-being. And that's what this legislation is about. Here in Hartford, we enacted an ordinance a couple of years ago, proud to partner with the City Council and with NARAL, Pro-Choice Connecticut, with Planned Parenthood, with so many others, to lead the way in putting that principle into law, to make sure that women had the facts when they went to seek counsel, to seek non-judgmental, honest consultation about their future, their bodies, their lives. The reason we did that is because here in Hartford, there is a clinic called the Hartford GYN Center that's been serving women and offering the full range of reproductive health services for over 40 years. But across the street from there, a crisis pregnancy center opened up. And they opened up there for a specific reason, which they explicitly acknowledged in social media posts, which was to, quote, lure women away from that long-standing clinic to a crisis pregnancy center where women were not told all of the information that they sought, where they were often shamed into making choices that they might not have chosen to make. That's not right. The law should make clear that that's also not allowed. And today, because of the leadership of Senator Abrams, Representative Steinberg, so many legislators, NARAL, Planned Parenthood, Lieutenant Governor Bisowitz, and Governor Lamont, that principle is now enshrined in Connecticut law. And again, we are so proud that you've chosen to sign this bill here outside of Hartford City Hall to reflect our commitment as a city and now as a state to the principle of reproductive freedom and to the principle that women deserve to know the truth. Thank you so much, Governor and Lieutenant Governor. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, thank you so much for hosting this important bill signing. This is Public Act 2117, and this legislation enacts a law prohibiting deceptive advertising by so-called limited pregnancy service centers or CPCs, crisis pregnancy centers. And literally, these are places, as the mayor talked about, that locate next to legitimate healthcare centers, and they do that with the intent of deceiving and depriving women of information they need to make medical decisions. They've not been licensed, they've not been regulated, and they have not been subject to the Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act. With the passage of this law, our Attorney General, William Tong, will now have the power to seek a court order to stop these very deceptive practices. And violators will be notified if a problem occurs, and if they don't fix it within 10 days, they can be fined up to $500 per incident. So this is a really important step to protecting women's rights in Connecticut, because we know that many of the CPCs that have been set up are in competition and in close proximity to real health clinics to trick and to confuse women and to lure them in. And often we know that they are providing inaccurate information and using delay tactics with the women who seek their help. So this law will put an end to these organizations misleading pregnant women about their health care options. I want to say thank you to the City of Hartford for helping to pave the way for this law by passing their own ordinance in 2017. And we want to say a huge thank you to Representative Jillian Gilchrist, Planned Parenthood, and NARAL Pro-Choice Connecticut for all of their work on this legislation as well. The governor and I are so excited to be here with all of you today, and it is now my great pleasure to introduce a very important volunteer clinic escort, Sally Grossman. Sally, thanks for all of your good work.
Thank you. So my name is Sally Grossman. I am a volunteer clinic escort at the Hartford GYN Center, which is the last independently run abortion clinic in the state of Connecticut. I volunteered there for almost 4 years, spending the majority of my Saturday mornings walking women past protesters to get to their scheduled appointments. 4 years ago, a crisis pregnancy center opened within feet of Hartford GYN Center. The CPC, which was called St. Gerard Center for Life, changed their name to Hartford Women's Center and shared a walkway with the Hartford GYN Center. During an interview with the media shortly after they opened, the then director said that the CPC's purpose was to, and Mayor BRONIN alluded to this, lure abortion-minded women away from their scheduled appointment. That was a direct quote. I witnessed firsthand what that luring entailed. Volunteers would stand outside the entrance of the fake clinic, which every patient had to pass, and then tell the patients who had appointments with the medical clinic that their appointment was actually with them. If escorts weren't nearby, patients would believe the CPC was the abortion clinic and enter it, thinking that they were at where their appointment was supposed to be. This went on for months. Every Saturday, there were volunteers from the CPC outside the clinic lying to women about where their appointment was. And I once saw a CPC volunteer physically grab the arm of a patient trying to get her to go inside the fake clinic. They also had signage in their window advertising abortion pill reversals, which is not a medical procedure, and it has been known to cause hemorrhaging. Shortly after the CPC opened, the Hartford City Council took action to begin work on an ordinance that would limit their deceptive practices. Many volunteers at the Hartford GYN Center provided testimony at the ordinance hearing and shared their experience and what they witnessed. They also read statements provided by patients who experienced deception at the hands of St. Gerard Center for Life. Once Hartford ordinance passed and went into effect, I never saw a single CPC volunteer intercept and try to lure a patient of the clinic again. But pregnant people in Hartford are not the only ones who deserve to be free from deception when accessing a time-sensitive, constitutionally protected medical procedure. Which is why I want to thank all those in the state legislature who took on this fight year after year until it passed to ensure women in Connecticut were protected from deception. I want to thank all the advocates who kept showing up to have their voices heard, and I want to thank Governor Lamont for signing this important piece of legislation into law. We should all be proud to live in a state that respects a woman's right to bodily autonomy. Thank you.
Sally, thank you so much for that, for all the great volunteer work that you do, and it's my pleasure to introduce NARAL Pro-Choice Connecticut State Director Liz Gustafson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Gustafson, and I am the proud State Director of NARAL Pro-Choice Connecticut, the state's leading advocacy organization fighting to protect and expand reproductive freedom. First, I'd like to thank Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Bisowitz, and Attorney General William Tong for prioritizing reproductive freedom, access to time-sensitive health care, including abortion, and for bringing us all here today. Our state has a long history of leading the fight to defend access to reproductive health care and taking steps to expand access so that everyone can decide if, when, or how they want to start or grow their families in safe and healthy communities. And our state's leadership in this fight is needed now more than ever. Over the last 4 years, an emboldened, coordinated national campaign by anti-choice extremists has only doubled down on their efforts to roll back our rights and threaten our freedoms. 2021 alone has been a record-breaking year for anti-choice legislation being raised or passed in state houses across the country, and now our movement is bracing itself for a fight in the Supreme Court. While our state may not face the same types of threats or attacks that we have seen in other states, our movement has recognized that anti-choice crisis pregnancy centers are an extension of and the forefront of the anti-abortion movement. And we also knew that we must do all that we can to fight back. It started here in Hartford. That's why we are here today. We heard from providers who witnessed firsthand the dangers that false and misleading advertisements directed towards pregnant people pose. We heard from clinic escorts whose main job is to ensure the safety of patients and staff, which then rapidly turned into ensuring people walked into the right building for their scheduled appointments when a CPC moved right next door. We heard from patients who were just trying to access the care that they wanted and needed, but were delayed, deceived, shamed, or altogether blocked from accessing that care due to the tactics of crisis pregnancy centers. We collected story after story and knew that the people of Hartford deserve better. Organizers, providers, patients, community leaders, and elected officials came together and successfully led the passage of a groundbreaking ordinance to end the use of deceptive advertising practices in the city of Hartford. No one deserves to be deceived when seeking essential, time-sensitive reproductive health care. That is why we continued our work. And we are so proud to be here today in this moment as anti-choice crisis pregnancy centers and their use of deceptive advertising practices is a threat to public health, and it is not something that only occurs within these city limits. This legislation sends an important message that people in Connecticut who think they are pregnant deserve and need timely access to qualified medical professionals without facing deception, barriers, or shame. This law is about honesty, transparency, and the dignity of those who need access to care. And it is about fostering safe and healthy communities and trusting individuals to make the best decision for their health, their lives, and their futures. While we continue our fight to ensure that everyone can decide if, when, or how to start or grow their families, we can look to this law as a bold example of progress. And this would have not been possible without a lot of people. And so I just want to take a minute to thank everyone that had a role in getting us to this moment. Attorney General William Tong, Senator Abrams, Representative Steinberg, Representative Gilchrist, thank you for your commitment and leadership. Thank you to our Hartford champions for reproductive freedom, Mayor BRONIN, Councilwoman Wildelise Bermudez for helping us build this foundation. Thank you to our board chairs, Polly Moran, Caleb Riasco, and our entire board for your commitment, support, and expertise. Thank you to Sarah Croucher, Erica Crowley, Brenna Doyle, and all of those who led this organization and our efforts to pass proactive pro-choice policies in the state of Connecticut. To the National Institute of Reproductive Health, thank you for your partnership. Thank you to our partners and healthcare providers, Gretchen Rafa from Planned Parenthood Votes Connecticut and also Planned Parenthood of Southern New England, Roxanne Sataki and the Hartford GYN Center team, thank you. Dr. Lyles, an incredible advocate for her patients, Medical Students for Choice, and all abortion care providers across the state of Connecticut. To our Coalition for Choice members and cross-movement allies, thank you so much. Thank you again to Governor Lamont and to every single legislator who fought for and voted yes to protect access to reproductive health care and end deceptive advertising practices. And to close, finally, thank you to everyone who testified, shared their stories, wrote letters, called their legislators, and simply showed up year after year, never giving up in the fight to protect and expand reproductive freedom. Thank you.
Liz, thank you so much. And now I will invite our great governor, Ned Lamont, to say a couple words before he signs the bill.
All right. I always like Connecticut to be a leader at the forefront, taking the lead. This is more important than ever. Hate to admit it, I'm following Luke Bronin's lead and what Hartford was able to say, and it's more important than ever right now. Look, if we've learned one thing over this last year, everything is getting politicized. Science is getting politicized. Healthcare is getting politicized. The masks are getting politicized. But we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen in Connecticut. And we're going to stand up and make sure that health care is a basic right for everybody, reproductive health care. This deceptive advertising, these games, this deceit people are playing, it's a political agenda that's wrong, and it's not going to happen in Connecticut. And we're going to hold them accountable. William Tong will hold them accountable. And that's why we're signing this bill today, to make sure that each and every one of you knows that your rights, your dignity, your respect, your health care is taken care of in an honest and truthful way. Let's sign the bill. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Doug, before we do that, I will ask the media, and we really appreciate your coming, if you have any questions on this bill, because we have all of these experts behind us. Going once. Okay, Gov, sign the bill. They hesitate. They're lost.
Yep.
All right. Yay. Thank you so much. We'll give you this and